Today we're going to start with the transmission removal. Go ahead and get your car supported on your jack stands. Get your tires removed. What I'm going to do first, I'm going to drain any remaining oil that is in the transmission, because when you remove it, once the axles are pulled, it creates a lot of oil. If it is completely full, they'll be spilling out both sides, just creating a large mess. First step to getting the transmission removed, we need to get the axles removed from both sides and the shift linkage dropped. Start with removing the 32mm wheel spindle nut. If you have OEM shocks, you're going to need to remove the brake line. You have a 12mm bolt that goes here. There's going to be one on the reverse side which comes up from the back. Remove both of those. After that, remove the 14mm bolt that holds the top of the fork. And then remove the 17mm bolt. This is the nut. Here's the bolt side. Remove that 17mm. You need to be able to drop the fork off of the shock. Remove the cotter pin and remove the 17mm nut on the bottom of the control arm. We need to get the knuckles separated from the control arm. I'm using a ball joint separator tool. Pick this up at Harbor Freight. It allows you to get the ball joint pushed up without hammering on the knuckle and the control arm. And now you should be able to lift the knuckle. And at the same time, using your thumb, push on the axle. This might even work even a little better. Now it's free. You can take your fork out. And we'll need to pry at the inside. Let me get a pry bar, I'll show you exactly how. This is what I'm using. Usually these come with some of the stock jacks and different kinds of cars. I don't believe they come with Hondas. I have a handful of them. They work very well. They have this point which allows me to, what I do is just get it in here, use the transmission as leverage, just like that, super easy. Now comes the axle. Repeat the process for the other side. It is a longer axle, but it is the exact same process. We need to get the shift linkage removed next. You're going to want to slide down this little metal sleeve. And you're going to need to get the little pin removed. I use this bolt, which always makes it easy for me. You can tell I used it numerous times. Line it up with my pliers. That pin looks just like this. That'll let you remove the top portion And the other part of the linkage is just a 12mm bolt. At the top of the engine, disconnect your battery and remove it. Remove the battery tray next. Handful of 12s. One right there. Second one right there. Yours will probably have a third one there. Another one is down underneath. I'm going to remove the intake arm to give me better access to the starter and the rear motor mount bolts. Disconnect. Right here is a 10mm. This is the ground wire which connects to the transmission. Disconnect the two reverse light wiring. These two just pull apart from the wiring to the wiring harness. Disconnect your starter. In here you have 12mm nut on the starter, and this clip just slides straight out on the starter. Next, we're going to get the clutch cable removed. Sometimes it's difficult to get by hand, but you need to spin this large plastic washer. Getting the starter removed, you may have this 10mm bolt. This is just holding the bracket for the wiring harness and then attached to the starter. You need to remove, it's a 14mm bolt here on top of the starter. The other one is directly across this. It is on the bottom of the starter. Let me see if I can show you. It is that bolt back up in there. You need to get both of those removed. It's easy to get when you have the axle off. You can slide an extension in here with your ratchet exactly where I am putting the GoPro right now. With the starter removed, you're essentially ready to start taking the transmission down. Now, I already removed my front motor mount when I got this car a long time ago because I have Hasport mounts on here. It is unnecessary for me to have it. The mount had disintegrated, so I'd never thrown it back on. You are going to need to account for that mount. It is only 2 bolts which hold the mount to the transmission and 1 which attach it to the subframe. Very easy to remove. You could remove that first before going any further. But now we need to get the speedometer cable removed. Slide up the plastic cover. There's a little clip I can't really show you. I'm going to show you right here. This slides over the metal cylinder, which locks the speedometer cable into place. And then after that, you're able to pull, just wiggle it, pull the speedometer cable free from the transmission. Just let it hang to the side. What I do first, I will loosen up. There's 3 bolts back here which hold the bracket to the mount. It's not necessary to remove the mount. I will, however, loosen up the 17mm back here. That way it allows the bracket to slide up and down easily without being so tight. But I'm gonna loosen that first and remove these 3. These are 3 17mm. I use a breaker bar just to get them loose. Now, without going any further, we need to get the transmission unbolted. Handful of 17s. There's 2 on the top here, 1 here. There's another one on this side. 1 down here close to the O2 sensor wiring. 1 that is down in front by the mount. There is going to be, see through this hole. It's right here on the reverse side. This one you have to unbolt from underneath the car. It's going to go out towards the driver's side. And underneath you may have an assortment of OEM brackets which connect to the exhaust manifold. This one had it. It used to be a bracket that came down and connected here. I had taken it off when I swapped the transmission the first time. But we're gonna need to remove that bracket if you still have it. You're gonna need to remove this plate. It's a 14 here, the 14 there, and there's two which attach to the oil pan. There's a 10mm bolt, a little nut right there, I'm sorry, and there's another one on this side. If you don't pull that down, this plate is gonna get stuck on the flywheel when you're trying to pull the transmission off. I like to drain the radiator. That way it's a lot easier to lower the engine. With this radiator hose connected, when the engine starts to tilt down and we slide the transmission off, it doesn't give us a lot of room for adjustment. So I'm gonna drain the radiator, go ahead and get that into a clean container because I'm gonna save it and reuse it when I refill it back up once I'm finished. Next, we're gonna loosen up the mount for the passenger side. Before you do that, get something to secure it. I'm going to use my jack. Place this up against the transmission, right here in the center. If I can get the damn thing lined up, there we go. And then remove the bolts which hold the mount to the mount bracket. You don't need to remove the mount itself. I may loosen up the 17 here just so I have a little bit of room for it to swivel, but I'm going to loosen up those two, and after that the motor is going to want to drop by itself. That's why we have the jack underneath the transmission. I almost forgot to add this rear bolt. On the reverse side there is a nut, so you need to find a way to go ahead and I put my ratchet down here, the socket onto it, holding it in place, and that way I can get to the top and get it loosened completely. Otherwise, you may spin this and just continue to spin over and over. Once it's free, go ahead and spin. And as I dropped it, you can see it started to pull itself away from the block already, the transmission. If you have a stock mount, you may want to loosen up the bolt here before lowering it, just because it's a rubber mount, and when you tighten it, that cylinder that's inside the rubber, it may just be tearing at your mount. I have these Hasport mounts which have the mallet cylinder and the two urethane sleeves, so I can bend it up and down easily without worrying about damaging anything. That's why I went ahead and lowered the engine that way. And this is what I was talking about, the radiator hose. It wouldn't have even reached if I had done that, but it gave me a lot more room to drop the motor even further. You don't need to disconnect the exhaust. It'll just swing with the car itself. But now comes the toughest part of lowering the transmission. If you are relatively weak in the arms, you may want someone to help you. And I don't mean that as a joke. They're pretty heavy. They probably gotta be like 50 pounds at least. I don't know the exact weight of these transmissions. But what I like to do, I like to get my left hand in here on the hole for the starter, and I will kind of wiggle it off and then drop it to the floor. Let's see if I can kind of show you what I mean by that. Just like that. Combination of your left and right hand, able to drop it. You don't want to bang it on the floor. I guess I'm not going to be using this anymore, it wouldn't have mattered, but it's the casing. I can always use it in the future with a different gear set. These transmissions weigh approximately 68 pounds. I had already replaced the clutch on here. I changed the clutch, the rear main seal, and a brand new flywheel. So we're gonna swap over. I had put a brand new spring behind the bearing here. So the throwout bearing, we're gonna change the throwout bearing and the spring and move it over to the SI transmission. At the same time, I'm also gonna change out the seals, both axle seals or output shaft seals. And this is the shift selector seal. These are very easy to install. Since I'm trying to eliminate any oil leaks, and I'm already here, I'm going to remove my clutch and the flywheel to inspect the rear main seal. I replaced it before. I just want to verify that it's not still leaking, and that way I'm not worrying if that's one of the issues I'm having with my oil leaks. I know one is coming from the seal on the distributor, the oil pan gasket, it's leaking. So those are a couple other issues I'll take care of, but right now we're just gonna remove that and check. I'd rather do it now than be wondering if it's leaking and doing all that work just to check a rear main seal. The rear main seal looks okay. There's nothing excessive here and it's not wet. It's just all the residual crap and oil and grease that has built up there. And looks like I'm still getting it from up here where it's wet. I think it must be just dripping down off the distributor and coming through there. So I know the rear main seal is okay. I'm gonna clean it up, just re-inspect it, and put the flywheel back on and get this transmission put back on the car. For the shifter selector seal, make sure you clean it first. I wouldn't clean the inside and out. I'm gonna slide this one on, and the easiest way for this that one was easy. Now just go ahead and finish up the last one. Getting the spring and the throwout bearing off is relatively easy. You only have this 12mm bolt. Remove that, and then you can pull this out. You can go ahead and slide these forward together and reinstall them on to either the new transmission you're putting on, or just replace them on the transmission that you are putting back together. Alright, I got the new transmission ready to be installed. It's dirty, I don't mind. I'm gonna power wash it once it's on the car. I find it's a lot easier to clean transmissions when they're on the car, as opposed to sitting out here with brushes and degreasers. I've done it before and it is just a pain in the ass. So I'm gonna leave it dirty, spray when it's in the car. Got the bracket put over here. Everything else was already on. I just changed the seals. Hardest part is lifting it up and getting it aligned. You don't want to be too rough, you don't want to damage your clutch, but you need to slide it in from the bottom. Once I have it there, I'll lift it up into the air, and then I'll slide my jack underneath and get it aligned. That way I can get it pushed back on there, get 1 or 2 bolts started, and finish up the process. There it is. Got it lined up. You can see it's pushed on. And that was the hardest part, is getting it just lined up, and I ended up kicking it just to shove it on a little bit. Now I'm gonna put a bolt here at the top and pull it on. That way the transmission is secure to the body. I put on this bolt and the other bolt, the top 2 for the transmission. Now what I'm gonna do is raise it. We're gonna get it lined up with this motor mount, and refinish installing everything as it came out. Relatively simple to put it back together. Just bolt up the mounts, intake box, battery, axle shift linkage, and I'll show you a completed video of the transmission swap. Here it is, all finished up. Took me an entire afternoon. Started around 11 in the morning, and I finished around 6 o'clock in the evening. It's a little bit close to 6 right now. Had to take an hour for lunch, but got the SI transmission back bolted up. Everything is set to go. Now I'm going to take it for a spin. Here it is, back up and running again. Just a little history on the car. Has 370,000 miles on it. That was on that original transmission. I think that's one of the reasons it will get stuck in 5th gear. Probably just a worn synchro, possibly a worn gear. Took it for a spin right now. It feels a little bit more peppy. Still gonna be slow with the dual point fuel injection, but it does feel a little bit better. I like it. Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon for part 2.